PR Connections Radio presents
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub Recap here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And on this edition, we are going to be talking about the most recent matchup that happened involving your Vegas Golden Knights. And that is them being at home, continuing their homestand at the Fortress. And you have the newest expansion team in the NHL, the Seattle Kraken, taking on the second newest expansion team. And that, of course, is your Vegas Golden Knights. And this was a really entertaining game from start to finish. Now, I addressed this in the last episode, and I will make this disclaimer for this episode. This is an audio-only episode. We're going to be doing it for 3 episodes in a row. Unfortunately, not in the home studio, but I do have my laptop and my computer. So, unfortunately, there is no video like a lot of our episodes, but it will be audio only. So, hopefully, you guys sit back and listen to this Vegas Hockey Hub recap between the Seattle Kraken and the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, this is a real good situation. Now, for the pregame notes, there is none for the Vegas Golden Knights. As, when it comes to injury, Ivan Barbashev with an upper body, Nick Waugh with an upper body, those two situations when it comes to the pregame notes there. And then when it comes to Seattle, not really much in terms of that situation. However, when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights and the Seattle Kraken, Jordan Eberle is dealing with a lower body injury with Seattle. So that was something that was brought up on the Seattle side. I do want to appreciate the podcast network out there in Seattle giving updates on their team. So I always give credit where credit is due on that. So for the Vegas Golden Knights, going to be really interesting to see what happens here. Ben Hutton, Kane Korzak, your healthy scratches for this game. Just kind of expected for Vegas. And then for the Seattle Kraken, Ben Myers, I know he is one of the healthy scratches for them on that side. So overall, when it comes to this game, there's plenty to go over, and we're going to talk about all of that right here, right now on Vegas Hockey Hub Recap with your host, Ian Rachiele. Now, when it comes to the starting lineup for the Vegas Golden Knights, the first line with Ivan Barbashev being out, this has stayed the same. Pavel Dorofeyev, Jack Eichel, and Mark Stone. On second line, there is a bit of a change here as Tanner Pearson and Brett Howden have swapped places from the game before. So Tanner Pearson on the second line with William Karlsson and Victor Olofsson. And then on the third line, you have Brett Howden, Tomas Hertl, and Keegan Kolazar. And then on the fourth line, you have Tanner Lesniewski, Cole Schwindt, and Alexander Holtz. Now, like I mentioned, Nick Waugh being injured, and when it comes to Ivan Barbashev being injured, that's why these lines have fluctuated at the rate that they have. Now, defensive pairing-wise, this has stayed the same really over the last month. Shea Theodore and Braden McNabb, Alex Pietrangelo, and Noah Hannafin. So Noah Hannafin, Alex Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore, and Braden McNabb. And you have Zach Whitecloud and Nicholas Hague. And then in goal for tonight, Ilya Samsonov. So with Aiden Hill doing his game against the Vancouver Canucks recently, having Ilya Samsonov be in net on that rotation does make a lot of sense there. So that is your starting lineup for the Vegas Golden Knights in this game against the Seattle Kraken. Now, when getting into the game itself and at the Fortress, you would start this out. And unfortunately for the Vegas Golden Knights, a mistake would happen not even 2 minutes into the game as Nick Hague would catch a Seattle player up high sticking penalty, and he would go to the penalty box for the Vegas Golden Knights. And as he was in the penalty box, not even 15 seconds later, the Seattle Kraken would get on the board. Vince Dunn with a power play goal for Seattle. The penalty kill was not sharp tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. There were some mistakes that were made on the penalty kill. But Chandler Stevenson, by the way, I will give him credit with the assist here. Almost at 20 assists on the season for Chandler Stevenson. But yeah, power play goal for Vince Dunn to make it a 1-0 game for the Seattle Kraken. And we'll talk about another power play goal that was let up in this game later on in the episode. But for Vince Dunn to get on the board, and it's just unfortunate for the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, Nick Hague catching somebody up high, it's hockey, it happens. But to let up a power play goal and to let that happen, not even, I'm going to say less than half a minute after that power play was already being started by Seattle. So penalty kill was sluggish on that first opportunity by the Vegas Golden Knights. And overall, when it comes to the Golden Knights organization and everything that happens there, I also am going to say when it comes to Chandler Stevenson, all right, I know that they did the tribute for him back in November, but there was still some fans that were cheering for Chandler Stevenson in his, return from Seattle, obviously with the Vegas Golden Knights for a couple of years. No tribute tonight, but there was some applause with Chandler Stevenson, during warmups and stuff like that. So Chandler Stevenson making his return with that assist out there on the Vince Dunn power play goal there. And overall, when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, you're looking for some opportunities. And after a holding penalty for Seattle, Riker Evans would get a holding penalty. He would go to the penalty box. Vegas Golden Knights being on the power play. Tomas Hertl did have a chance near the slot, just did go wide when it came to the Vegas Golden Knights. And then a tripping penalty on Victor Olofsson in halfway the first period. And thankfully, it got stopped there. So they were 1 for 2 on the penalty kill in the first period. But overall, when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights organization, they were waiting for somebody to make an impact in the first period. And it would end up being Keegan Kolesar, as Keegan Kolesar would end up getting his 8th goal of the season with an assist from Brayden McNabb to tie up the game at 1-1. And we're really seeing the progression of Keegan Kolesar. I mean, this is somebody who you're seeing his confidence has gone up as time has progressed. He's becoming a leader in the locker room. During warmups, you're seeing him pass the puck, him being in the middle and passing the puck to whoever is open, whoever needs a puck in warmups. So for the Vegas Golden Knights, that being a 1-0 situation, and it was just really interesting because this is the second time in a row that the Vegas Golden Knights being down 1-0 early on and registering a comeback for the Vegas Golden Knights, as after the Keegan Kolesar goal, not even 60 seconds later, Brett Howden with his 13th goal of the season. And this is back-to-back goals for Brett Howden. He scored on the empty netter in the most recent game against Vancouver. So this is amazing for Brett Howden. And I've alluded to it in the past, but for Brett Howden to have over a dozen goals for Vegas when his recent career high was like 8. Really impressive for Brett Howden. I'm also going to say with Jack Eichel, this is his 34th assist of the season, and he would not stop on the assists in this game. But overall, Brett Howden has been really impressive so far. Jack Eichel has done really well for Vegas all year long. And then at the end of the first period, already being up 2-1 and doing this comeback for Vegas, the goal scoring would not stop as Nicholas Hague, who had been in the penalty box earlier in the period, with about 2 minutes left in the game in the first period, Mark Stone kicks it over to Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel kicks it over to Nicholas Hague, and he gets it past the goalie, and his second goal of the season for Nicholas Hague. And that makes 20 assists on the year for Mark Stone and 35 assists for Jack Eichel. I do want to mention this. Jack Eichel now is over a assist per game, 35 assists, 33 games. Really solid job by Jack Eichel this year. And overall, I really like what we have seen from the Vegas Golden Knights at the end of the first period being up 3-1 after being down 1-0 to begin the period. And this has been a real solid situation for the Vegas Golden Knights. And like I alluded to, Brett Howden, that strong start he has had to the season. And I'm really happy to see that Brett Howden is doing a really good job here in Vegas. And that was, like I said, towards the end of the first period for the Vegas Golden Knights. And it would be up 3-1 here. And after a relatively quiet second period, outside of an interference penalty on Alex Pietrangelo and a Brett Howden situation where Brett Howden looked like he was maybe going to score his second goal of the game, but it was stopped. The Vegas Golden Knights would leave the second period at T-Mobile Arena being a 3-1 score, the same as it was at the end of the first period. Now, I am also going to say when it comes to Philip Grubauer, 33 shots for Vegas tonight. He stopped 28 of them. When it comes to blocked shots, Jamie Alexiak, he definitely blocked some shots tonight for Seattle. I also am going to give some appreciation on the Seattle side to Andre Burakovsky. This is a guy who had a couple of shots on net for Seattle. Whereas the Vegas Golden Knights tonight, Tomas Hertl was putting up a lot of shots for Vegas, multiple shot attempts in this game. Despite him not getting a goal or an assist in this game, he was making an attempt to shoot for the Vegas Golden Knights. When it comes to the other players that did make an impact in this game, I'm also going to sit here and say when it comes to defense, there was some real standout guys in this game. Brayden McNabb, 4 block shots for the Vegas Golden Knights. NHL.com, their stat sheet and their box scores, how we're getting all this information here. And overall, for the Vegas Golden Knights, this was a relatively good job. And at the end of the second period, you're seeing that Vegas Golden Knights were doing what needed to be done, and that was against the Seattle Kraken. So at the end of the second period, being up 3-1 with about 20 minutes left in this game, as we were talking about Vegas Hockey Up Recap here on PR Connections Radio. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. We're going to get into the third period and all the action that was very action-filled, and that was those 20 minutes of left play for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, and sorry about the pause there, but when it comes to the third period, William Karlsson would open this up for the Vegas Golden Knights, and he would get an assist from King Kolazar and get his 7th goal of the season. So William Karlsson, really good there. I like what we saw from William Karlsson on that goal. And then a few minutes later for the Vegas Golden Knights, Mark Stone would get another assist on the year, his 2nd assist of the game. He would kick it over to Noah Hanifin, and he would get it past Philip Grubauer, and that would be his 4th goal of the season, and that would make it a 5-1 Vegas Golden Knights lead. And then, unfortunately for the Vegas Golden Knights, the power play situation and the penalty kill, that would end up coming back to bite Vegas, as Shea Theodore would get a hooking penalty. He would go to the penalty box, and Vegas being on the penalty kill. Jaden Schwartz, he would get a power play goal with an assist from former Vegas Golden Knight Chandler Stevenson, 2nd assist of the game for him. And just like that, it'd be a 5-2 game. Now, granted, this is about 6 minutes left in the game. Seattle being down by 3. Not much is going to happen there in terms of, a comeback for Seattle. But what ended up happening was about 90 seconds left. The Vegas Golden Knights would have an empty net situation, and Brett Howden with the assist here, but your captain, Mark Stone, with his 7th goal of the season, his 3rd point of the game. And just like that, Mark Stone would send the fans home happy with a 6-2 victory for the Vegas Golden Knights. So how about that? Picking up another victory for Vegas. And overall, I really like what we saw there. Mark Stone, 28 points in the last 33 games. Absolutely incredible from your captain. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. 7 wins in the last 8 games for the Vegas Golden Knights. And this happens to be 8 wins in the last 10 for Vegas. So they're currently writing an 8-2 record over the last 10 games, dating back, obviously, to about late November. So overall, out there at T-Mobile Arena, they had around 18,000 people packed at the T-Mobile Arena out there at the Fortress. And that is your win-loss record for the Vegas Golden Knights, as you're seeing it right then and there. And overall, really solid. I like what we're seeing here. Seattle Kraken, they do have some weapons out there, but currently 15, 18, and 2 out there in Seattle. Now, just going over a little bit of notes to end this, and once again, NHL.com is the information here. Seattle out-hit Vegas by double the amount, 26 hits compared to just 12 for Vegas. And then Vegas ended up having near 4 times the amount of penalty minutes that Seattle had. So in terms of the penalty minutes, that is a bit of a concern there. In the faceoff circle, Seattle won 54% of the faceoffs, so relatively not that bad in terms of that situation. Now, overall, when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, they went 0 for 1 on the power play and went 2 for 4 on the penalty kill. And block shots was relatively similar, 15 for Seattle and 14 for Vegas. And then when it came to giving away the puck, Seattle had 14 turnovers and Vegas had 11 on the night. So looking at what they're going to keep doing moving forward, you have the last game of the homestand. That's the Anaheim Ducks 2 days from now at T-Mobile Arena. And then for Christmas, there's going to be no games played there. So fast forward 4 days after that, you have the San Jose Sharks. That's going to be out there in San Jose. And then final 2 games of this season here when it comes to the calendar year. And you have the Calgary Flames and then the Montreal Canadiens. So I have final 2 games of the calendar year being in Canada, Calgary, and then, Montreal, going up against those 2 teams there. And overall, Vegas Golden Knights, this is an organization who, they are 13-3 at home at T-Mobile Arena. And this is an organization who is already who is tied 1-1 with Seattle on the season. They have 1 more game left. That's going to be down the road in April. So overall, for Vegas, I'm really happy to see what they did in this game. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do against Anaheim, because that's going to be, like I said, 2 days from now. And, Jack Eichel, 35 assists already on the year. Mark Stone, 28 points, despite him having that injury that set him back in November. Brett Howden. I mean, when you look at Brett Howden, it's kind of crazy. He has 16 points, 13 of them being goals. Very impressive. And like I alluded to, I think an episode or 2 ago, his career high was around 20 points. He's at 16 already for Brett Howden. King Kolazar, 8 goals on the season already, and compare it to the 8 goals he had last year. So he's actually tied a career high, and we see the amount of games that we have of all the ones that are left to go for the Vegas Golden Knights. Speaking of King Kolazar, by the way, that is our player of the game. So unlike Alex Pietrangelo, who was the game before, Keegan Kolazar ended up being the player of the game. And this was, I'm really watching him be on that third line and him seeing that confidence that you're seeing from Keegan Kolazar. So very impressive, and I'm happy to say that he is our player of the game for tonight. And that line with Brett Howden and Tomas Hertl was productive and gelled really well tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. So this was Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And we're going to continue this series and continue to break down everything when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights. And we will do all of that here on Vegas Hockey Hub Recap. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And until next time, go Knights, go.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.